Imagine a battlefield echoing with the clash of swords and the thunder of hooves, yet devoid of the iconic charge of a knight. For centuries, cavalry was a force of skirmishers, swift but lacking true impact. Their riders, perched precariously, could strike but not truly shatter. Then, a seemingly insignificant invention emerged from the east, a simple loop of metal. Yet, this humble device, the stirrup, would ignite a revolution, reshaping warfare, forging empires, and giving birth to the very concept of the knight. This is the story of how a minor addition to a saddle unleashed a torrent of change, a silent revolution that forever altered the course of history. Before the stirrup, riders had limited stability. They gripped with their thighs, a precarious perch. Imagine a Roman cavalryman, javelin poised, barely able to withstand the shock of impact. Their role was largely scouting, harassing, and pursuing, not delivering a crushing blow. Without a stable platform, wielding heavy weapons or maintaining formation during a charge was incredibly difficult, leaving them vulnerable to dismounting by even a slight bump or well-aimed weapon. This fragility defined ancient cavalry's strategic limitations, making them a fluid, yet ultimately less decisive, force on the ancient battlefield. Across vast steppes and ancient empires, horsemen grappled with this fundamental problem: how to truly become one with their mount. Various solutions emerged: toe loops, elevated saddles, even elaborate gripping techniques, but none offered the complete, unwavering stability needed for truly effective shot combat. Cavalry remained an auxiliary force, effective in flanking and pursuit, but incapable of delivering the decisive, bone-shattering charge that would later define medieval warfare. The vision of a rider standing firm, unleashing a devastating blow, remained an elusive dream, a limitation that hindered cavalry's potential for millennia. The true breakthrough didn't come from the classical world, but from the nomadic peoples of Central Asia. Archaeological evidence suggests the stirrup's genesis around the 4th century AD, possibly among the Xianbei or other steppe tribes. These skilled horsemen, needing to fight effectively from horseback with bows and lances, innovated a simple wooden or metal loop. It was a utilitarian invention, born of necessity in a world where the horse was central to survival and warfare. Its initial spread was slow, a ripple effect across the Silk Road, hinting at its quiet, yet profound, future impact. From its obscure beginnings, the stirrup began its inexorable journey. Carried by migrating tribes, adopted by neighboring empires, it followed trade routes and military conquests. Its diffusion across Asia was gradual, a subtle shift in the way battles were fought. By the 6th century, the stirrup had reached China and the Byzantine Empire, transforming their cavalry into more formidable units, particularly the elite cataphracts. Yet, its full potential, particularly in the European context, was still largely untapped, a sleeping giant awaiting its true awakening, poised to redefine the very nature of conflict. What made the stirrup so revolutionary? It fundamentally changed the rider-horse dynamic. By providing a stable platform for the feet, it allowed the rider to stand, redistribute their weight, and absorb the shock of impact through their legs. This wasn't just about comfort. It was about mechanical advantage. The rider could now effectively become one with the horse's momentum, transforming themselves and their mount into a living battering ram. The simple loop of metal had unlocked the true potential of the equine charge, channeling immense kinetic energy into a single, devastating point. This newfound stability led directly to the development of a devastating new tactic, the lance couch. Instead of merely thrusting or throwing a lance, a rider could now brace a heavy lance securely under their armpit, transferring the entire kinetic energy of their charging horse and their own body weight directly into the weapon's tip. This turned the lance into an irresistible force, capable of punching through armor and shattering shield walls. It was a technological leap, transforming a simple polearm into a weapon of mass destruction, fundamentally altering the way cavalry engaged the enemy. The shift was monumental. Cavalry ceased to be a mere auxiliary force. With stirrups and the couched lance, they became the dominant arm of warfare, capable of delivering a decisive, unstoppable shock charge. They transformed battlefields, turning infantry formations into vulnerable targets. A well-organized unit of stirrup-enabled heavy cavalry could smash through ranks, break morale, and turn the tide of an entire engagement. The age of the light skirmisher was fading. The era of the heavy shock trooper was dawning, forever changing military doctrine and the balance of power. Imagine the visceral impact. Hundreds of horses, each weighing over 1,000 pounds, thundering forward, ridden by warriors encased in steel, their lances forming a bristling, unstoppable wall. This was the hammer blow of the early medieval knight. The stirrup allowed them to maintain cohesion at speed, delivering a concentrated point of impact. Few formations, whether shield wall or primitive palisade, could withstand such a force. The charge became the ultimate arbiter of battle, a terrifying spectacle of power and precision, etching fear into the hearts of their enemies and inspiring awe in their allies. While the direct link is debated, it was in the crucible of early medieval Europe, particularly with the Franks under leaders like Charles Martel in the 8th century, that the stirrup's full potential for military organization began to crystallize. Faced with highly mobile, stirrup-using Muslim cavalry from Iberia, the Franks recognized the need to adapt. Though the Battle of Tours in 732 AD was won by Frankish infantry, it underscored the growing threat and the importance of professional, well-equipped cavalry. The Frankish state began investing heavily in this new form of warfare, setting the stage for the knight. This new, devastating cavalry wasn't cheap. Training a man and a horse to perform the couched lance charge required years of dedication. A war horse itself was incredibly expensive, bred for size and strength, as was the specialized armor needed to protect the rider. To maintain such a force, a new social structure emerged. Rulers began granting land, fiefs, to warriors in exchange for military service, primarily as heavily armed cavalry. This reciprocal relationship laid the foundation for the feudal system and elevated the mounted warrior into a distinct, powerful social class, the knight. The stirrup, by creating the need for expensive, specialized cavalry, inadvertently became a key driver of feudalism. Lords needed knights to defend their territories and assert their power. Knights needed land to support their costly profession and their families. This intricate web of obligations and loyalties became the backbone of medieval society. The king, the lord, the knight, each dependent on the others, forming a hierarchical structure designed to sustain this new, dominant military force. It was an economic and social revolution, all stemming from a seemingly simple piece of equestrian tack. As the knightly class solidified its power, a new ethos emerged: chivalry. This wasn't merely a code of conduct for the battlefield, but a moral and social framework encompassing courage, honor, loyalty, and courtesy. While often idealized and not always perfectly adhered to, chivalry provided a means to civilize and control these formidable warriors, channeling their immense destructive potential into a regulated structure. The stirrup didn't just create a warrior. It helped shape an entire culture, with its tournaments, heraldry, and romanticized tales of valor and virtue. The dominance of stirrup-enabled cavalry forced profound changes in defensive architecture. Massive stone castles, designed to withstand prolonged siege and provide refuge, became essential. They were the architectural response to an age where open-field battles could be devastatingly swift. Furthermore, infantry tactics evolved. The disciplined Swiss pikemen, the devastating English longbowmen, and eventually gunpowder weaponry were all, in part, responses to the formidable challenge posed by the knight. The stirrup, a powerful catalyst, spurred a constant arms race, reshaping fortifications and combat strategies alike. While its impact in Europe is often highlighted, the stirrup's influence was truly global. From the formidable horse archers of the Mongol Empire, who used stirrups for stability while firing their bows at a full gallop, to the Mamluks of Egypt, whose elite cavalry rivaled any in the world. This invention empowered horsemen across continents. It was a universal truth. A rider with stirrups was a more effective, more dangerous warrior, regardless of the culture or weapon. The story of the stirrup isn't just European. It's a testament to human ingenuity in warfare everywhere. Beyond its martial applications, the stirrup quietly revolutionized horsemanship itself. It provided greater control, comfort, and safety for riders in all aspects of life, from messengers and traders to farmers and travelers. It made long-distance riding more practical and less fatiguing, indirectly contributing to communication, commerce, and the general movement of people and ideas. This simple invention, born of war, had unforeseen ripple effects, accelerating the pace of daily life and connection in an otherwise slow-moving world, proving its impact extended far beyond combat. No single invention holds dominion forever. The knight's era of absolute battlefield supremacy began to wane with the advent of more powerful infantry weapons. The English longbow, the formidable Swiss pike formations, and most definitively, gunpowder. Cannon and arquebus could punch through the heaviest armor, rendering the mounted charge less effective and far more perilous. The stirrup-enabled knight, once unstoppable, became increasingly vulnerable, forced to adapt or face obsolescence. But their image, their legacy, would live on, etched into history, even as their military role transformed. Even as their military role diminished, the knight, inextricably linked to the stirrup-powered charge, endured as a powerful cultural symbol. From romantic literature to epic poetry, the image of the noble warrior on horseback, lance ready, became the archetype of heroism, chivalry, and martial prowess. The stirrup, the silent enabler of this iconic figure, might be forgotten in the tales, but its impact on the creation of that enduring image remains undeniable. It solidified a legend, a mythos that continues to captivate our imagination and shape our understanding of medieval valor. From a simple loop of metal, born on the windswept steppes, came a revolution that rippled across continents and centuries. The stirrup, an unsung hero of history, didn't just improve horsemanship. It fundamentally re-engineered warfare, creating the unstoppable shock cavalry that dominated medieval battlefields. It gave birth to the knight, a figure whose ideals and image still resonate today, shaping societies, driving economies, and inspiring tales of valor. This humble invention proves that sometimes the greatest transformations arise from the simplest of innovations, forever altering the fabric of our world in ways we are still unraveling.